In Unit 4, under the topic of secondary dominants, we've got some writing to do, and it has to do with this piece by Corelli, a sarabande by him. You've got a melody. This is for violin and continuo, and it gives you a chance to look at a few things. One of them is that this is in binary form. So here's a first reprise and a second reprise on page 2. That makes it two-part just in and of itself. Visual cues are helpful there. So it's binary in form because it's two reprises, two repeated chunks of music. The other thing it does, the main thing I'm using it for here, is so that you also have experience writing some secondary dominants. There are quite a few in here. There's some in the context of descending fifth sequences. I'll start with one that's a little tricky because it involves no accidentals. Analytically, it can be tricky because it's hard to see it. It doesn't. Without accidentals, there's no visual cue that you moved outside the key. Let's start with that. So we're in the key at the beginning of E minor, and we're going to end there too. So it is nice to get your key set by looking at the fronts and backs, beginnings and ends. There's E minor there too. That's going to cause a lot of accidentals because to get the leading tone in a minor key, you're going to have an accidental right away. That isn't what we're talking about when we're talking about secondary dominants. That is the dominant that's going to take place right here with that sharp. So that means it's a shorthand for sharp the third, and there's that third sharp. So that's going to be B, D sharp, F sharp. First inversion for the 6. All E, all B up to here. And there we get a change back to the tonic. Okay, and then we have nothing written, so we know that it's 5/3. You'll need a 4. So the shorthand of figures really spares a lot of ink. You don't have to write all that. In fact, I don't have to write all that either. I won't even write it. That's a 4 chord, passing tone. Okay, now here's a new chord. I can tell that it's some kind of a 7th chord in inversion because of that 6/5 there. And then I'm moving to another chord with G as the bass note, but with a dissonance in it. What kind of dissonance would that be? Well, it's on a downbeat, and then it's followed over here by a 3. And when you look at Corelli's work and other composers, when it's typeset, and even when they scribble their notations on their handwritten score, they're not going to write 4-3. So you have to know that that is a connection. There is a connection between that 4 and the 3. The 3 resolves the 4. But notice how that 3 is up here, and there's no line to connect them. That's more of an analytical thing. When we write that line, we're saying the 4 resolves here. Okay, so when it resolves, this is a 5/3 position chord as well. That makes it a G, B, D chord. I'm just spelling it up, so I need a 3rd and a 5th. The 3rd is a B, the 5th is a D, G, B, D. In the key of E minor, G, B, D is 3. Now, let's take a look back at this chord. Okay, so it's in first inversion, but then he puts the root down in the bass here. That's D, F sharp, A, C. D, I'll write it up top with a pop symbol. D7 going to G. Now do you see what's going on? That's a dominant 7th going to G. G is 3, so this is 5/3. You could also write 5/3 in this manner. But I like to write this just because it saves me a little bit of effort, a little bit of ink or lead in this case. Okay, so when we go to write this, the main thing you want to be thinking about is good voice leading. They say put 3 notes up in the right hand and leave the bass alone. So all my notes are going to come up here. D, F sharp, A, and C. That's the complete chord. This is embellishing a little bit by involving this chordal leap. As long as I don't create some parallel motion with this or this, I'm okay. So lots of contrary motion will be really helpful to you. So this is moving both of them up. I'm going to try and move everything down. Now I have to move this down. That's the chordal 7. D, F sharp, A, C. C's got to go down by step. G, take that down, and I can keep the D. There we go. So we've taken care of the tendency tones. This is in the bass there. If you want to get fancy, you could do a little voice exchange, but really like this where you move. But usually the bass moves pretty quickly, and you don't have to worry about that detail. You've heard the chordal third on the beat, and so that is enough to leave it out here in the top part. Okay, then you can just leave that for the whole measure, turn that into a dotted half, and you're good. One other issue that's going to come up here is the fact that you end up with chordal 7s as passing tones. Here, here, maybe not there, but definitely there. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this passing tone is going to be a chordal 7. Let me show you what I mean by that. If it makes you comfortable, we can put this in the key. Let me stop there, and I'll do some other.